Good morning then, Year 7. What we're going to do this morning is have a look at your reports, how they work, and how they should help you to be the best that you can be. When we're thinking about reports, we often set you targets, and we will always set you targets as part of the report that you're given. And targets are really important. They're not about where you are now, but where you can be in the future. And if you play a sport, or if you play a musical instrument, or even a game, you are likely to want to improve from where you are now. So you'll go to a training session, you'll go to a music lesson, you'll keep practicing on a game to get yourself to the next level. And actually we use exactly the same idea for your subjects at school. We want you to have a target that's clear to go for to improve on where you are now. What you do now contributes to you improving in the future. So we're used to targets and goals being set in those areas. Why do we set those targets for you in school at a subject level? Well, there are a number of reasons. To give you something to aim for by the end of Year 7. Just as in sport you would have a goal that you'll be aiming for, so in school each subject will have a target for you as well. Secondly, you need to know what your potential is. What could you achieve this year? And your report will tell you that. But those targets are also for us as teachers in school too, because we need to know how you're performing. And your report helps us to be able to analyse that. And of course, as a result of that, to help you or to challenge you to go even further. So each subject will set targets to help you and to help us. Now when we look at your targets, the question is, how have we arrived at them? Where do your targets come from? Because everybody's targets will be slightly different. Well, the first thing that we use is your personal best. The targets are about you. And the personal best we use is your SATs performance at the end of Year 6. What we do is we look at your performance in relation to everybody who took SATs in Year 6 in England, and we make a judgment about your performance and where that could lead in the future. But the second thing we also take into account, which is really important, is what Bishop Stopford is like as a school. As a school, we're not an average school. We're not a poor performing school. I'm really proud that we're in the top 10% of schools in the country. That's really brilliant. So in fact, if we set you targets that were average, that wouldn't be good enough, because as a school we know we perform well above the average. So we look at you, first of all, the starting point, your individual personal best. We take that into account. We take into account the fact that you're getting a great education at Bishop and should therefore be doing really well, and we set your targets from that. So let's have a look at a report. This is what a Bishop Stopford school report actually looks like. What you'll notice is down the left-hand side, we have the subjects with the teacher's name next to it. So all of your subjects will be there. And across the top, we have a series of categories that each of your teachers will fill out to tell us and to tell you how you're doing right now and what that means over the year. Let's look at those columns then in a little bit more detail. The first column is class effort. Every teacher in the school will make a judgment about you, about the effort you're putting in class. So they'll look at, are you taking part? Are you working hard? Are you showing real commitment to your studies? And they will give you a number between 1 and 5. 1 is the lowest, the weakest effort. 5 is the strongest. So I love to see reports that are 4s and 5s in that column. There's no reason why everybody can't be at a 5 in that column. So all of your teachers will give you a number for class effort. They'll also give you a number where it's applicable for homework effort and reliability. Again, that's about your commitment. Are you doing the homework that's set? Are you handing it in on time? And exactly the same scale, 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. So again, we want to see those numbers up at the 4s and the 5s. The next column is where it gets a little bit more complicated. Okay, and the next column is your end of year target grade. This is the goal that you should be aiming for at the end of year 7. And that end of year target grade, I'll talk to you a little bit more about in a minute or two. You'll notice it's in decimals by the look of it there. Okay, and we'll talk about why that is the case in a minute or two. The right-hand column is the projected grade. And your teacher will have thought very carefully about your class effort, homework effort, any assessments that you've done, and will look at the target grade and say, if that student continues as they are now, my projection is this is what they will get at the end of the year. So for example, if we look at the art and design subject at the top there, you'll notice that the student has a target grade of 2.2 and the teacher is saying that student is absolutely on target. If they continue as they are now, they will get that 2.2 at the end of the year. Let me just explain those numbers a little bit because they look a bit complicated. When you get your report, you will get a little bit more detail to help you to understand that. But effectively, those numbers are on what we call a flight path. Can you see how it follows through like an aeroplane might take off? And what we're saying is, year 7 is actually the start of a long pathway up to GCSE. And we know what you get in year 7 can set you on a flight path to the end of GCSE and suggests the kinds of grades you might get. Now, aeroplanes take off in a nice straight line, but we know that learning is much more bumpy. Some days there's really great learning, some weeks there might be things you just don't understand. So it's not really as neat as that. But those flight paths give you a general indication of where you are now and what that might mean for GCSE and where you should be targeting. And if we look in a bit more detail, and this is with your report, here you've got end of year 7 target grades. You could have any of those target grades for subjects. And on the right hand side, the GCSE grade pathway that you would be on if you achieve that grade. So for example, if you have a subject which has an end of year target grade of 1.3 at GCSE, that is saying you're on a flight path towards a level 5, which is a strong pass at GCSE. So it's just giving you an indication of where they're going. The important bit is not to get bogged down on the figures, but to look at the target grade and the projected grade. That's the important bit. Am I making progress? Because that target grade you are given will have a challenge in it. It's not making you sit where you are now, it's pushing you on to achieve even more. So the important bit is, does the target grade and the projected grade match? Am I on target? If not, what do I do? If I'm above, wow, that's brilliant. Okay? So let's just go back to a report then and just see how it works. We've looked down the columns. I just want to look across. So let's pick geography for this student. How does it all work? What is the geography teacher saying about this student? Well, they're saying first of all that their class effort and homework effort is great. It's the best it can be. It's been given 5s in both sections. The student has a target grade of 1.3 for the end of the year. But with all of that effort, guess what? The teacher's saying this student will actually achieve a 2.1. They'll do even better than what is targeted for them. That's excellent. So they're performing above and beyond what would be expected. And look at the effort. You can see now that the columns all link together, can't you? That the one is dependent on the other. If we look at the student's report elsewhere, though, it's not quite as glowing, is it? So in computing, with Dr. Byte, in computing, look at the class effort. It's a 2. Remember, our scale is 1 to 5. 2 is poor. So the student isn't in class putting in the effort, making the commitment, doing the hard work. So perhaps it's not a surprise then when we hit the end column and we see the projected grade is 0.3. So it's below the target grade of 1.3. So what's the teacher saying? The teacher is saying there, if the student puts in some more effort in class, we might well see a change in those end columns. So when you read your report, you have to read all of those columns for it to make sense. So let's just go back to that projected grade column. How am I doing right now? My teacher is telling me right now, if I continue as I am, this is how I'm likely to do. And if I keep going, that's where I am. So, that's a lot of information. What do you do with it? Because your reports are coming to you today. What do you do with them? Well, really importantly, you use them. They're telling you something really important. And go back to the beginning, they're giving you a target, something to aim for. Read it closely with your tutor. Read it closely at home too, so that you've got a good understanding about what that report is saying. And then when you come to progress review, you'll be able to have really good conversations with your subject teachers about that. I would recommend that on the front of each exercise book for each subject, you put that target so you can see where you're aiming for the end of the year. If it's there, sometimes, some days it might be really difficult stuff that you're doing, but you can think, this is helping me to achieve that target grade. If I understand this, I'll be able to move on. So you're clear. Put it on your exercise book. Make it clear to yourself, this is what I'm aiming for in this subject. And always ask your subject teachers about the report. Why have I been given that grade for effort if you're not sure? My projection's saying this. What does it mean? If you're a bit off your target grade, which bits do I need to improve on and what could I do to make that even stronger? So your subject teachers want to have that conversation with you, and being able to have that conversation means that you are going to move closer to your target. That's a lot of information, okay? I just want to stress one thing. Yes, these are challenge targets and the reports will tell you where you are. But it's very, very important to remember that we talk about your personal best. We talked about it in setting the targets. And your best is absolutely good enough. Even if you might be slightly off those target grades, if you are putting in your best effort, that is all we ask. What's really important is that you use the report to help you, but all the time you're putting in your personal best, whatever those targets are, for you to do as well as you can. Thanks for listening.